All right, folks, got another interesting match here. Very back and forth, very interactive. So we'll jump right in. I win the die roll, and I this hand is an interesting one because, like, if I draw a land, it's actually pretty good, but it's kind of hinging on a lot, drawing another mana source. So I decided that I would be better at 6. I'm gonna mull this one. Um, excuse me. This hand is substantially better. So I put back one of the lotus petals, and good to go. And so I believe I lead on Basic Island Preordain here. And I keep that Limdul's Vault because I'm thinking I'll be able to use it to set up a, like, ideally I'll turn 2 on their end step. I'll go Polluted Delta for Basic Swamp, Limdul's Vault into Experimental Frenzy, and on turn 3 I can Dark Writ, Thoughtseize, Frenzy, and be in pretty good shape is kind of the game plan here. It doesn't really work out like that, so we'll see how this goes. So they play Misty and crack for Trop and Ponder. So I'm thinking it's probably Rug Delver at this point. That seems like the most likely situation with that kind of opener. And since it's Rug Delver, I don't want to run my Limdul's Vault into a daze, so I go digging for more land. And I believe I draw this Polluted Delta, and then I just pass because I don't want to run my Thoughtseize into a daze either. I do fetch the basic swamp now while I can play around Stifle, which is not a huge deal. Most of the Rug Delver lists aren't playing Stifle. Now they play a Noble Hierarch, so that's not a common Delver card. I'm thinking this is probably Infect now. This is a very much an Infect-like play here, which means I'm definitely Thoughtseizing next turn, if there was any doubt about it, because I don't want to just unexpectedly die. Although, for what it's worth, they don't have an Infect threat out, so I'm not super in danger of just dying. But anyway, so hit play here. I do Thoughtseize this turn, so let's go a little slower. I drew another Thoughtseize, which definitely incentivizes me to Thoughtseize again. So once you get a look at their hand, now this is interesting. Take a look at that. This is obviously not Infect. I can assume it's some kind of Bant mid-range deck, basically. They have True Name, they have some counter magic. This Green Sun is potentially a little scary, but the fact that they're playing Force of Will makes me inclined to think they don't have Gaddock Teague as a Green Sun target. So here I'm going to take the one of the forces because I don't really have another option. It's like I can't get rid of their threats because they have True Name or they can Green Sun for a threat. And they have 2 hard counters, so I definitely want to start getting at those because I know I have another Thoughtseize to take the second one. So I'm banking on the fact that they don't have Gaddock Teague, and if they do, it turns off their forces, and I'll be able to Limdul's Vault for Collective Brutality to get rid of Teague. So anyway, moving on. So I take a force, and we'll proceed. I'm not going to use this Limdul's Vault just yet. And here's a Knight. So the Knight indicates that they probably have some number of wasteland. I would guess not 4, but I could be wrong. I would guess probably 2 wasteland, since they're a 3-color deck and they want to be holding up counter spells and stuff, but they're not a Delver deck. They're a little top heavier, so they probably aren't able to play the full 4 wastelands. But I don't really know for sure. But anyway, they play Knight, which means that I'm going to be on a pretty quick clock when it comes right down to it, especially if I'm casting another Thoughtseize here. So play out my mana. Now I can Thoughtseize, and this turn I can take the Force and then play the Lotus Petal, and I'll be able to Limdul's Vault and hopefully find a kill from here. But it's notably they still have the Spell Pierce. So they hit me hard. I go all the way down to 8. And then they Green Sun and get Kasali Pride Mage and hit my Lotus Petal. So I'm going to Limdul's Vault right now. And I'm in an awkward spot with this Limb Duel's Vault because I don't have enough life left to cycle through my deck. So I have to get lucky with a set of 5. Um, and just hope I can find one that is actually going to work for me. Um, so I'll go through this a little bit slower so you can see what happens. So none of these really are going to work. Like, I'm thinking I need to be able to play the Frenzy. But this, I'll just kind of say it here. I screw up on this Limb Duel's Vault. I keep this set of 5. Um, and I put the lands and stuff, or the land down there. I should have put the Dark Grit below that vault, because what's going to happen is I'm going to draw. I'm going to have I'm going to draw the frenzy. We'll see it. So I draw the frenzy, and I have enough mana to pay for the spell pierce when I cast the frenzy. They actually pierce this Dark Grit, and so what's going to happen, because they pierce the Dark Grit, I could pay for it and then cast the frenzy, but my next card is a Dark Grit, which I won't be able to cast. If I had done it differently, if I had put the Valk and then like one of the cantrips or something, I might have been able to keep going. But basically, I was too tight on mana, and my options off the Limb Duel's Vault were pretty limited. So I just wasn't able to win fast enough on this one, and they got the big creature here. And I did some damage to my own life total with those multiple thought seizes. And I kind of just, this one got away from me a little bit. So, on to the next game. I think I just concede when they spell pierce this because I realized that I'm not going to be able to do anything. So, on to game 2. So, of course, I'm on the play again. And I think I keep 7 here. So, this is a pretty good 7. It's a very stable 7. So I just start with the basic island and preordain. And I'm pretty sure I'd kind of just run away with this game. I put the Cabal right on the bottom, but I keep the Thoughtseize, I believe. And then... So I definitely want this Brainstorm to resolve because I still need to find a red mana source for the Frenzy. I'm going to use the Polluted Delta to fetch a basic Swamp, since I'm trying to play around Wasteland as much as I can, assuming that they have it. I drew another Thoughtseize, which is okay here. So, at this point, I don't know if they're playing Daze, but I'm perfectly happy to run my Thoughtseize into a potential Spell Pierce at this point in the game. I tend to think they're not playing Daze if they're trying to cast 3-drops, but I could very well be wrong. So they Brainstorm in response, which is fine. And this is an interesting hand. So it doesn't really do all that much. Hierarch, Pride Mage, Rest in Peace. I'm going to disrespect the fuck out of this Rest in Peace, and I take the Pride Mage because obviously my primary game plan at this point is Frenzy. So next turn, oh well, we got to go through their turn first, but they drew a Ponder, which was a good draw for them, and presumably they're just going to run out their Hierarch next turn. And there's my red mana source, so that's good. This means that I can Thoughtseize this turn, and then Brainstorm on end step, and go for the Frenzy next turn. So they drew a Force, which was a good find. They don't have a blue card to go with it, but I'm going to take it anyway because I'm still on the game plan of disrespecting the fuck out of this Rest in Peace. So, presumably we're going to see the Rest in Peace this turn. They can play Hierarch and Rest in Peace now, which I believe is what they do. I think anything else would be foolish. Rest in Peace is kind of an interesting choice in the Knight of the Reliquary deck. That's what happened. They drew a Sylvan Library, and so they decide to play that instead. But that means that I know the entire contents of their hand, which is pretty good for me. So I instead brainstorm. I draw Doomsday, which isn't really doing me a whole lot here since I can't cast it and win this turn. I'd rather just play out the Frenzy. So I put it and the Badlands on the bottom, I believe. Oh no, I keep a Doomsday. I wonder why I did that. Okay. I think what I was thinking was I could next turn, like I can play out the Mire and then next turn I can Doomsday and Frenzy. Doomsday and then Frenzy. And I can duress this turn and then Doomsday and Frenzy next turn. But on further consideration, that doesn't actually make a whole lot of sense. Because the Sylvan Library, they're going to see 3 new cards. So it's better for me to just play out the Frenzy at this point. So I duress. I'm going to take the Rest in Peace here. This is going to open up, even though I can disrespect the fuck out of it, this is going to open up some additional lines for later on. So at this point, I just fetch Badlands, I think. Yep, and then I run out the Frenzy, which I know will resolve, and I basically just have to hope that they can't find another Kasali Pride Mage for next turn, or else I'll be in kind of a rough spot. So the Pride Mage's main deck and counter magic and stuff make this kind of a rough matchup, so I think I'm just going to hit play here. Okay, so I draw the land, I play out an LED, and then I just pass because I have this other land, but I wanted that LED. I figured my chances are better of having the LED and hoping to untap next turn, hoping they don't find anything off the library, than shuffling that away for something random, because I'm probably just going to brick anyway. So I'd rather brick but have the LED. So I think they draw all the cards here. So they go put themselves down to 11, play another Hierarch, and then just pass, which to me indicates that they're holding up some counter magic that they found, which is fine. I'm pretty confident that I can power through some counter magic. And there's a duress to help. Double Spell Pierce is very good. The Lotus Petal, I'm going to play out the second Frenzy here, because I don't want them to be able to find another Kasali Pride Mage and get rid of it. Brainstorm, which they decide they're going to use their second Spell Pierce on. Fine by me. I'll shuffle away the Underground Sea. I hit Bauble. I decide to just draw that, and then I hit Dark Red Doomsday, and so I'm able to just fucking go off and kill him. So good for me. And you'll notice that I elect to kill with Collective Brutality here. The reasoning behind doing the Cobra loop is that I'm hoping they're going to leave Rest in Peace in their deck. Because I generally can ignore it. And so if they leave it in, that's probably just better for me. It means more dead cards, virtual card advantage, etc. So I'm not going to stick around here. Okay, I thought I went through the whole Cobra loop, but they saw the writing on the wall. So let's get into game 3. Because this is the very interesting one, in my opinion. The most interesting one. So this one was a grind. So, looking at this hand, I know I've said that they're, as a Knight of the Reliquary deck, they probably have some Wastelands in their deck. But I'm looking at this hand and I'm thinking that this is going to be a very strong hand if they don't Wasteland me on turn 1. Or turn 2, I guess, before I get a turn 2. So my game plan is turn 1 Thoughtseize and then turn 2 Brainstorm. And even if they Wasteland me, I do have Lotus Petals to try to maybe cantrip with. So, we'll just hit play here. They lead on Trop and Pass. And I lead on Underground Sea, Thoughtseize. Or actually, I play with the LED first, trying to bait a Force or something. They Brainstorm in response to my Thoughtseize, which is pretty reasonable. I take one of their Forces and pass. And they hid a Wasteland on top of their deck and Wasteland me. So that puts me pretty fucking far behind at this point. Obviously, they don't ponder because they want to hold on to that blue spell for force. So I play out my Lotus Petals and I pass. And I'm hoping that I can just draw a land to try and resolve this brainstorm and get back in the game. There's I'm at this point I'm kind of questioning, like, is it worth it to cast a brainstorm off one of these Lotus Petals? My concern is that that's so clearly a desperation move that if they force it, I'm down 2 cards basically, and I still don't have another land, so like they 2-for-1 me. So they play the Rest in Peace here, which I'm pretty content to ignore at this point. I don't think it's going to be a huge deal. I do decide that I'm going to preordain, and the reason I'm okay with the preordain is because it doesn't brainstorm lock me. I'm glad they didn't counter it, and I did find another land. So I can play out the land and play out the Conjurer's Bauble, which is actually pretty good here, as it's like a cantrip I can cash in for an extra card at any point in the game. I do cash it in pretty quick, though. So what are they playing? Okay, Green Sun for 2, which is going to get the Kasali Pride Mage. And that's actually kind of a huge problem for me, because my game plan right now is Experimental Frenzy, and I can't really play the Frenzy into the Pride Mage. But I drew another Preordain, so that's good. We're going to keep going looking for more lands. I think I bought him both of those. And I bought them both, and then I drew the second Cabal Ritual, which is pretty inconvenient since I didn't want the first one. But shit like that happens sometimes. So I'm getting to the point where I'm kind of interested in brainstorming. I don't think they're going to crack this Pride Mage right away because, like, they need it as a threat. So until they have another threat to be able to play, they're not going to crack the Pride Mage. And it's at this point in the game that I kind of start like formulating a little bit of a plan, which is that I can get them to crack the Pride Mage by playing a Frenzy. But here I'd make it this may have been a questionable choice. I decide to cast the Jace. Because my reasoning is that if it lives for a few turns, it's going to draw me a couple cards, which I'm fine with. I don't mind milling them because of Rest in Peace. So they're not going to be able to like play a Snapcaster or anything if they have it. And it's not going to make their knights bigger. So basically it's just going to draw me cards. If they force it, it was a duress, which is okay. The thing that I forgot, or maybe not forgot exactly, but wasn't considering the full implications of, is the Rest in Peace. If this Jace goes away, I will lose the Jace. Can I view my sideboard? So we'll see. It's a little hard to tell, but as you can tell by the Conjurer's Bauble being in my deck, I'm playing Tendrils. And I've been playing it in the sideboard in this deck list. And I sided it in this game. Just to have like another win con. So the Tendrils is still in my deck, so I have another win con that doesn't need to loop through my graveyard necessarily. But the Rest in Peace does make things a little more difficult because it means that I can't loop through my graveyard unless I get rid of it. I did have one Echoing Truth in my deck right now, so I have a way to get rid of the Rest in Peace, but it's not ideal. So they decide that they're going to counter the Jace. So Jace goes into my graveyard, and I'm pretty sure they did this because now they're thinking that I can't actually win. Last game, they only saw the Collective Brutality as the win con, and then the Jace if they looked through my exile. So they may think without being able to loop and without Jace that I can't win. So they counter it, which I'm probably more or less okay with at this point. They I needed them to get that force out of their hand. So now I just need to get rid of this Pride Mage. Or find a real Doomsday kill that can play around the Pride Mage. So we're going to come to an interesting point in a few turns. For now, I think I'm just going to hit this button. So they start hitting me with a Pride Mage, and I'm on like a 4-turn clock here. What's this? Oh, they play a Jace and they brainstorm with it. So now I'm really feeling like I might be in trouble. But I did draw another Frenzy, so I'm thinking my best plan of action right now is going to be to resolve one of these Frenzies, let them Pride Mage it away, and then resolve the other Frenzy and try to actually kill them with it. So basically, I'm using the Frenzy as like a duress for the Kasali Pride Mage. So I just hard cast this, and I can't remember what happens here. This might just get countered. Yep. So they force this, and what did they exile? Flusterstorm, which is okay, or which is probably good because I'm still kind of thinking like I want to resolve this experimental frenzy. I'm up on cards right now, which is good. The only problem is that I'm like behind on board, and Jace is going to keep the cards flowing for them. So I'm not in a very good spot, to say the least. So they crack that fetch. And then this turn, they do the same thing. They brainstorm with Jace, and they come swinging in with the Pride Mage. And actually, this is where I felt pretty unhappy with how things were looking. They Green Sun for 2 again and find another Pride Mage. And now here, I think, was their mistake, which is that they attack. So they hit me for 4. Put me down to 3. And then, come on. And then they pop one of the Pride Mages, which I think was very inadvisable because they still have lethal on board if they don't do that. So they're better off. Obviously, they don't know for sure, but they're better off holding up. Actually, no. Let me say that again. They still have lethal on board, so they made the right choice to pop the Pride Mage. They still have lethal on board because he gives itself +1/+1 from Exalted. Silly me. So they blow up my Lion's Eye Diamond. And now they have lethal on board. They have a Jace. They have Rest in Peace. So this is looking pretty bad for me. But it ain't over yet. It ain't over yet. So I draw Dark Rit, which is a very good draw here, because it costs 1 less mana than a Cabal Rit. So I believe I Dark Rit here, and it resolves. So then I Duress. Oh no, I just play the Frenzy. So I jam this Frenzy because I'm hoping that they're just going to Pride Mage it. So this is kind of how I'm seeing this. Here are their options. Assuming it resolves, they either Pride Mage it now, or they let me do stuff. If the stuff that I do starts to get too dangerous, then they have to get rid of the Frenzy, and they have to Pride Mage me. And if I can put myself in a position where I might be able to win anyway, that's good, and I can get their threat off the board. So I need to either win right now or get this threat off the board right now. But I can't win with Experimental Frenzy because of the Pride Mage, and unless I draw like super duper good or something off the Frenzy. But anyway, basically I'm using this Frenzy as a removal spell, which is not ideal. What do they do here? Brainstorm. Okay, so they brainstorm in response to the Frenzy, but it does resolve. They don't find anything. What am I paying blue? Oh, I considered brainstorming in response, like before this Frenzy resolved. I considered brainstorming, but I figured it was probably just better to have the 2 mana up, especially if they found a Pierce or something. So I have a brainstorm, so I brainstorm now. They still aren't frenzying, and this brainstorm is a very lucky one because I see this Collective Brutality here. And I have a land play, so I can put the land in the pedal back, play the pedal, play the delta, and then Collective Brutality this, and force them to take the option basically to get my Frenzy off the board. And so seeing the Cobra there is very good. So that's exactly what I do. Play the land, play the pedal, and then I crack the pedal and spend the island to Collective Brutality them. And this is fine. Like they're gonna remove my frenzy, which is fine. I expected that, but now at least I'm not dead on board for now. So I can crack this delta, go down to 2 and ponder, which is exactly what I'm going to do because I'm on the right now. I'm looking for Doomsday. I want to find Doomsday. I've gone through almost half my deck at this point, so I'm thinking like, and I haven't seen a single Doomsday. If you look at all my exile cards, there's not a single fucking Doomsday in here. So my chances of seeing one are getting pretty high. I could math that out if I wanted, but anyway. So I ponder here, and I find a Lion's Eye Diamond and another ponder. So that Lion's Eye Diamond is going to be pretty critical to going off with Doomsday here, since I don't have all the ingredients I need. So if we look at this right now, they're at 16. If I draw the ponder with this ponder, and then next turn I draw the Lion's Eye Diamond, if we look, I'll be able to duress them, and then cast my ponder. And if my ponder hits a Doomsday, I'll have exactly enough mana to Cabal Writ into Doomsday, and then play the LED and draw into the pile with Brainstorm. So that's the plan that I decide I'm going to use. They could Fate Seal me with Jace, which would be a little annoying. But I have a feeling they're going to Brainstorm because they're going to be looking for a threat. If they don't have another threat hidden in their hand, then they're going to need to find something because they need to kill me. They can't afford to dirtle around a whole lot longer when I'm at this low of a life total. They really just need to put some power on the board and try and end me. And most of the creatures in their deck can do it like next turn. Frankly, even 1 point of damage would be bad since I'm on the Doomsday plan right now, but they don't really know that. So, we'll see what happens. So this is an interesting thing from them. They play Windswept Teeth, and they crack it for Dryad Arbor, which is a smart little move. Then they Brainstorm, and they find Noble Hierarch. So they have lethal now. So I need to kill them this turn, which is kind of, I don't know, what my plan was. Like, if I didn't kill them on my turn, then my chances of winning the game are pretty slim, since I'm kind of in an awkward spot. So I'm going to draw the Lion's Eye Diamond here, as planned, and then I need to ponder into a Doomsday. So I'm going to see 2 new cards off the ponder, and then I have the option to shuffle and see a 3rd new card. So just real quick, we'll do a little math here. There's fewer than 30 cards left in my deck. Just going to get a hypergeometric calculator going here real fast. So population size is 29. Number of successes in population is still 4. The sample size is effectively 3. It's not exactly 3. We'll do it. Well, we'll just go 3. It doesn't need to be perfectly accurate because it's 3 and then shuffle, so the echoing truth that I know is there goes back in, so it's not exactly strictly 3 out of 29. But I only need 1 success in the sample, so my probability roughly of winning here is just shy of 40%. Somewhere between 35 and 40%. But my odds of winning are non-zero, so naturally we're gonna take it here. So I start off with a duress, and Crows and Grip is not super relevant here. This is interesting because the Wasteland actually would have been pretty relevant, but they used their fetch to find their threat. So they didn't have a land drop to use the Wasteland. Anyway, I take the K-Grip, which I could play through, so that's not a huge concern, but regardless, take the K-Grip, and then I ponder, and there's a Doomsday right there. So lucky me. I'll just hit play here. So I draw the Doomsday, and as you can see, I have just enough mana to Cabal Writ into Doomsday, and go off, and I know that they don't have any way to stop me, and I have the Tendrils still in my deck, and plenty of Storm to just make a normal Tendrils kill pile, which MTGO messed up the fucking order on because it's stupid. But anyway, yeah, so that was a very interesting match. They said GG's. That's what that message was. So yeah, that was I don't know, just a very back and forth match, a very tight. Using frenzies as removal spells is not a common thing because Kasali Pride Mage is just not a card that I commonly play against, and especially like a deck like that with counter magic and big threats and main deck interaction for experimental frenzy can be a pretty tough matchup. But fortunately, like Bant Midrange is not a not a commonly seen deck to find yourself across the table from. But anyway, that's that. Thanks for watching.